Hey guys, Pratima here. So I have reviewed a ton of wireless TWS earbuds on this channel, and every time I check the comment section of one of those videos, I always get at least one request asking me to review IEMs, also known as in-ear monitors. And as you can already tell from the title of this video and also from all of these IEMs on my desk, that's exactly what I will be doing today. My team and I have been testing a bunch of IEMs for the past couple of weeks, and we have finally managed to narrow it down to the best 7 budget in-ear monitors. But first, what the heck is an IEM? Technically, anything that goes into your ear canal with tips, like even AirPods Pro, counts as an IEM. But in the audio world, when people say IEM, they usually mean the wired ones used by musicians and audiophiles. Like for example, sound mixers or musicians performing on stage to be able to hear or monitor what they're playing and what else they need to hear while isolating the unnecessary stuff like the audience noise. The good news for us is that over the years, IEMs have gotten so good and so affordable that anyone who wants nice audio on a budget will be better off with an IEM instead of a pair of wireless earbuds at a similar price, with some brands even adding features like playback control buttons and microphones to make your transition a little easier. And the first product I want to recommend is the KZ EDX Pro. If you're on a tight budget, this is a great place to start. It costs around 850 rupees in India, and for that little money, it's a fantastic pair of IEM. It kind of has that V-shaped sound with an emphasis on bass and trebles, but its bass response isn't boomy or rattly like many cheap wireless earbuds, so don't expect that rumble from sub bass on these IEMs. But the EDX Pro's upper bass works great to add a bit of warm energy on pop, jazz, and similar genres of songs. The instrument separation is just as impressive here, and remember that V-shaped sound I mentioned before? Well, that means the mid-frequency here takes quite a hit, unfortunately. And on tracks with a lot of dynamics, it definitely struggles with things like male vocals and attack from the kick drums, especially in hard rock and metal songs. Its soundstage isn't the widest I have heard, but I honestly can't say that's a deal breaker on something that costs less than 1,000 rupees. I've got to say the EDX Pro has a nice design too. It has a compact shell that should fit most ears comfortably. The L-shaped headphone jack is a nice touch, and I love that KZ went with a flat cable to prevent tangles, and its call quality is decent too. In fact, every IEM on my list has a detachable cable, so in case you damage it somehow, you can just replace the cable. Now, if you're wondering how I am testing all these IEMs, since today's phones do not come with the 3.5mm headphone jack, I basically have two setups. The first one is my MacBook, which has a high impedance headphone jack to easily drive all of these IEMs, and the next one I have is a super cheap USB-C adapter with a DAC from JS Aux to play them on my phones, my Windows laptops, and everywhere else. Yes, you do need a good DAC to get the best sound from all of these IEMs. That's an extra cost, I know, but the good news is that you don't have to spend much. Something like the JS Aux DACs, the POJ-A11, or Apple's USB-C dongle will get the job done, and all of them are under 1,000 rupees. Alright, let's move on to the 1,500 to 2,000 rupees price range, and here you can get a couple of great IEMs, but at the same time, there are a couple of options that are not worth your money. Like the Simgot EW100P, it's a definite step up from something like the EDX Pro, although I found its upper mid-range to be a little too shouty for my taste, whereas the Celest Wyvern Qing is also something not worth checking out simply because it's not a good value for money. Instead, you might like what the Truth Here Gate has to offer for a little under 2,000 rupees. But before I talk about its sound quality, I have to point out that its stock cable is one of the best I have seen on a budget IEM. It's soft, it's braided, tangle-free, and it feels quite durable too. And look, you even got a carrying pouch with this guy. As for audio, the Truth Here Gate has a very balanced, easy-to-listen sound that I am sure most of you will enjoy, especially if you're like me who prefers that extra kick of sparkle in the trebles. The Truth Here Gate has a good presence in the 4,000 to 6,000 kHz range, so things like the attack from snare drums or cymbal hits have a definite sizzle to them. which was something I thoroughly enjoyed while listening to some jazz classics like Take 5. Likewise, its bass response feels warm enough too. It does not have that rumbly bass compared to some other IEMs I am going to get to in just a minute, but the mid bass and the upper bass have nice punch and control here. The vocals are fairly well presented here as well, even though it can start to sound a little sibilant at high volumes in hard rock and metal songs, meaning certain high frequency sounds like S, S-Ed, Z and T in vocals will come across a bit sharp and piercing to listen to. Okay, the next IEM on my list is the Tangzu SG2. Terrible name, I know, and in a lot of ways this thing is actually quite similar to the Truth Here Gate. They both have a resin shell with a cool transparent look, a nice braided cable, a similar microphone quality where my voice sounds a tad bit sharper than I'd like. And they both have a similar Harman target sound curve, which basically means that it's been tuned with a mostly balanced sound in mind that most people should find natural and comfortable to listen to. The SG2 in particular has a slightly more balanced upper mids and slightly more airy trebles, but the only problem is that I'm having a hard time getting a proper fit with these IEMs. I still don't want to say that you should totally skip this one though, because I gave it to some of my colleagues and they said that it fit them like a glove. Now, if you want something with a more thumpy bass and a wider sound staging for that perception of depth and space in the music, then the Moondrop Chu II is among the best budget IEMs out there. At around 1900 rupees, it's priced close to both the Truth Here Gate and the SG2. And in case you didn't know, this is the successor to perhaps the most popular budget IEM, the original Moondrop Chu. Now, I remember listening to the Moondrop Chu a couple of times and man, I did not like its sound at all. The flat sound curve with almost no bass was no fun to listen to, but I absolutely love that the Chu II gets a complete audio makeover while still retaining that excellent metallic build. It has a pretty rich, full-bodied sound with a strong kick in the mid bass and clear vocals, nice layering between all of the instruments, but I feel like it could have hit the treble notes with a bit more bite. Like in Fleetwood Mac's The Chain, for example, the Chu II reproduces the iconic bass line towards the end of the song with almost perfect detail, but the following percussion and high notes don't sound nearly as clear on this guy, which is not a problem for the Kiwi Ears Cadenza. This is among the most obvious V-shaped IEMs I have ever tested, and I am not even complaining. The Kiwi Cadenza has a very good sub-bass control, the treble sound just as lively and smooth without any sort of sibilance, while the mid-range gets enough room to breathe as well, something most other V-shaped IEMs struggle with. I'm also super impressed with the natural timbre of the Cadenza, so it does not matter what genre of music I'm listening to, they all sound very well resolved. Its imaging is just as impressive, which is basically being able to pinpoint where a specific sound from an instrument is coming from. So I bet gamers are going to have a lot of fun with this one as well. Only reason why I had to put it so far down my list is because of the price, because for some 3000 rupees, the Kiwi Ears Cadenza feels a little expensive considering all the competition out there. Plus, its default cable does not even come with a microphone. Okay everyone, I am down to my last two IEMs, the KZ Caster Pro, which is available for around 1850 rupees, and the 7Hz Creeneckle 02 for 2350. They're both excellent in-ear monitors, each with their own unique strengths. And if you're a bass head, you will definitely want to go with the Caster Pro, especially its improved bass version like the one I have. This is the only IEM in my list with a dual dynamic driver setup, and it also has a punchy and impactful bass response that does not bleed into other frequencies. So listening to hip-hop, EDM, rock, funk, and similar kinds of songs is just super fun on these IEMs. What's really fun about the Caster Pro is that it has physical switches to tune its sound. I turned them on to add some energy to the mids and trebles, and the result is incredible for the price. But I did find one big issue with the KZcaster Pro, its size. It's quite bulky, so if you have smaller ears like me, it can get uncomfortable during long listening sessions. Whereas the 7Hz 02 is almost its exact opposite in a fundamental way. Instead of a bass-driven sound, this one is more about a nice tonal balance with engaging bass, clean mids, and non-fatiguing trebles that you can listen to for hours and hours at a time. It has a very smooth frequency curve, and I love all the details it manages to bring out as well. And unlike the Caster Pro, it should fit perfectly on most ears too. So overall, if you prefer a more balanced sound instead of something with a lot of bass or any sort of funky features, you are going to love the 02. Alright everyone, so those were my top 7 picks for the best budget IEMs to buy right now, and I really hope you have a proper idea about which one's perfect for you. So if you found this video useful, please do not forget to hit like and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because I have a bunch of exciting videos planned for you guys that you will definitely not want to miss. Till then, I'm Pratima and I'll see you in my next video.